Good evening. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. My name is Nada St. Germain, and I have the pleasure of sharing a little bit about the Neolife difference and talking about how the products are really literally from the farm to the table and based on cellular energy, cellular nutrition. When I first looked at Neolife over 35 years ago, I was working as a police officer in the city, and I was really struggling with fatigue, energy, hormonal imbalance, really bad PMS, and allergies. Now, my mom was in her 40s at the time, and she was taking supplements because she was really struggling with a lot of pain throughout her body. And back then, they were not diagnosing fibromyalgia. So it was interesting because I watched her take supplements for a number of years with no results. So when a dear friend and a neighbor, Florence, came to me and said, Nada, do you want to try these vitamins with me? I literally said, no, thank you. I didn't believe in supplements because they weren't making a difference in my mom's health at all. But she decided to give the products a try. She was really struggling with fatigue and some depression issues. And we had something in common: shift work. She was a flight attendant, and she really just struggled with the overnight seas flying and just energy coming back. And I remember I just know that the shift work just was really, really hard on me too. And you know what? She got really good results. And that's when I got curious and I thought, well, maybe there's a difference. Maybe there's something different about this company and the quality of these products. And I then decided that I would have somebody come to my home and share this information with my family and my friends. And I was in awe. I was so I was actually confused too. I thought, how come people don't know about this? But it still sounded too good to be true. So I did end up driving to Nashville into my third month because I still didn't understand why people didn't know about Neolife. And I still wanted to know more about the science and meet these scientists that they were talking about. And I had the pleasure of meeting some of the scientists that were on the board at the time. And I was so grateful and so blessed to meet Dr. Arthur First, who I'm going to talk about a little bit later. But boy, when you see what the extent that Neolife goes to get the raw materials, to make sure that the foods are not contaminated, there's no chemicals or pesticides and herbicides, you will be in complete awe. And so I'm going to start the presentation and we're going to go into a little more detail, and we'll definitely open up to questions towards the end, and I'll stop the recording at the end. So thank you all for joining us tonight. So John Miller is, he's been part of our scientific advisory board, I'm going to say over 45 years. And so grateful to meet John. His heart is just so full of love. And he really, really has an understanding on how to make the products and how to make sure they work and how to make sure they get into our body and get to our cells. So I'm going to have him share a little bit about what he did on one of his interviews with Neolife.
That's when
many of you gave us feedback in the surveys we sent out a few months ago that you wanted us to review the Neolife difference and what makes our product so much better than everything else out there. So this morning, I have John Miller. He is the director of our scientific advisory board, and John has actually been with us for almost 55 years. If anyone knows about the Neolife difference, it's John. So good morning, John. Welcome. So glad to have you here this morning.
Good morning, Jennifer. How are you this morning?
I'm great, John. Thanks.
Ever since I heard that this was going to be the topic was going to be a Neolife difference, I was really looking forward to this call because certainly that is one of my favorite subjects. And it's also one of the easiest things to talk about. There are so many Neolife differences. As a matter of fact, that's sort of going to be my focal point today, is that there are so many Neolife differences. Everywhere you look, there are Neolife differences. And I'm just going to walk you through a few that stand out to me. Things like history and philosophy and science and amazing products and the technology behind the products and our reputation in the industry and all of those things. So I'm going to just focus on those and walk you through from my perspective. First, from history, just talking about history, we are about to finish our 65th year in business. We started in 1958, and we're just about to finish our 64th, excuse me. And the reality is that in itself is a big difference. When you look around the world, companies don't last that long, at least not unless they're really good companies. Matter of fact, if you listen to Forbes and other folks like that, about 90% of companies fail within the first decade of their existence, let alone the 6.5 decades that we've been doing that. Also, I think a lot of that has to do with product philosophy. From day one, we were focused on this idea of replacing critical nutrients that were lost in the diet, but doing it from a whole food nutritional perspective. That's when the company started with this idea of treon and grain concentrates and reintroducing critical lipids and sterols that had been stripped from the diet, and then looking at how they impacted cells and how cells work. Very, very powerful stuff. But that was in 1958. Today, that still represents the leading edge of science, understanding how lipids and sterols, or dietary components in general, affect cellular function, cell membrane structure, and the function of cells is still leading edge stuff. So here we are, 65 years later, and we're still at the forefront with ideas of the foundation of the company. Next is the science. Neolife has been based on science from day one, too. That reference I made to lipids and sterols just a moment ago was based on scientific studies that were investigating the effects of these lipids and sterols, whole grain lipids and sterols in particular, on cell membranes and how those cell membranes worked. So that was the foundation of the company, with this whole idea that we could influence health by influencing the health of our cells. Again, that was in 1958. Since then, the company has been dedicated to science throughout the 1960s and into the 70s. They focused strongly on the development of scientific knowledge. In the mid-1970s, a world-renowned cancer researcher and toxicologist, Dr. Arthur First, joined the company and really set the stage for a sort of a scientific protocol and practice that dominated the industry then and still sets the standard for our industry yet today. That was because Dr. First, who had spent his good part of his life studying how to treat diseases like cancer in particular, had made the decision that he wanted to work on the idea of prevention, which brought him to Neolife. And since then, his dedication to science and the protocols he established have led the company from a product development and introduction point of view. Now, out of that work, out of that science, or out of Dr. First joining and becoming the center of the science, was the formation of the Scientific Advisory Board. And from that point forward, things really began to change for us. For example, the Scientific Advisory Board developed some powerful and unique products, not just products that you can talk about saying that they were powerful and unique, but products that were based on world-class research, literally done in research laboratories around the world. Powerful products that were backed up by human clinical trials. Again, not just any kind of scientific evidence, but human clinical trials that generated evidence that showed the benefits of those products. And that evidence was presented in scientific events all over the world and published in peer-reviewed journals like the Journal of the American College of Nutrition, or Free Radical Biology and Medicine, or the any of the other many journals. Powerful products. And what that means, a big Neolife difference, is what we say about our products is fact. When you get your scientific data published in peer-reviewed journals, that means that the scientific community generally accepts that as being a fact. So unlike a lot of other companies, we have a lot of very strong facts done on our products by ourselves, the Scientific Advisory Board, as well as with third-party organizations such as researchers from the United States Department of Agriculture and universities and technology centers around the world. Speaking of technology, though, you don't get to have great products like that without having world-class technology. And certainly, again, here's a big Neolife difference. Very early on, we were the pioneers of the idea of protein supplementation and turning these protein powders into something that was not only nutritious for you, but delicious. We developed technologies called protein instantizing that went on later to become our ProtoGuard process that delivers proteins, complete proteins, and all the amino acids they contain in a delicious, very highly bioavailable form. Other things that we developed along the way that are still at the forefront of science or the forefront of technology were our mineral chelation, targeted delivery technology that actually lets us deliver nutrients right into certain sections of your gastrointestinal tract, molecular differentiation technologies that allowed us to produce the first and, as far as we know, only whole food omega-3 fatty acid supplement that provides all 8 omega-3 fatty acids found in human nutrition. And another great example of our technology is our glycemic response control. Glycemic response control, we started researching that in the 1990s and brought it to market around 2000 in our glycemic response control technology products. At that time, this was sort of very much in the forefront, actually very much in the future of science. Today, we find a lot of companies making reference to the fact that they have got some semblance of glycemic response or glycemic control as a foundation of their product line, but they're about 20 years late for that discovery. And then I'd like to talk about the Neolife difference of quality without compromise. You know, it's easy for people to say that they have very high quality products, and they can get lots of different ways to approach that. But consider this, okay? Neolife products meet the requirements of every major regulatory authority in the world for purity, potency, consistency, and safety. Think about that. We do business in more than 50 countries, and we meet all of the regulatory requirements of the most strictest of those, Japan or Australia, the US, Europe, Africa, wherever it might be. Whatever their requirements are for quality control, our requirements for ourselves already surpass those. We have no trouble doing business in those countries, meeting those regulations, because our own requirements on ourselves are even stronger than those that they would apply to us. That's what we call quality without compromise. We go the extra mile. We do quality control testing and procedures that other people wouldn't even think of. We do hundreds of thousands of these sorts of protocols and tests every year, assuring our product quality is beyond repute. And speaking of repute, our reputation is just for that. We have a reputation in the industry for being the company that makes the greatest products in the industry. We have a reputation in academia, in the colleges and universities and research centers, as being the company that does great human clinical research. We have a reputation with the regulators, meaning the authorities that oversee the marketplace, as being a company that is committed to doing things right and having quality without compromise. But most of all, I think we have a reputation for benefits. Our products provide benefits. We wouldn't be in business this long if our products didn't work. It's plain and simple. You know, in the end, you can have all of the fancy stuff you want, but if you're not providing benefits to people, you're not going to last very long. And I'm happy to say that Neolife has benefited people, hundreds and hundreds of thousands all over the world with our products and the technology behind them and the science that supports them. So that's just a few of the Neolife differences. I could go on for a very long time, Jennifer, but I think that considering this is supposed to be a relatively quick call, I think I'll just end it there and say Neolife differences are everywhere in Neolife. Everywhere you look in Neolife, you will find a difference.
Love John. Most of us have seen him at different events at convention, and he's very passionate about the science. And he always used to say to me that when he goes to some of these scientific symposiums, that the other scientists from other companies that are coming to listen and learn on the different technologies and stuff, they don't like to talk to the Neolife scientists because our SAB will not bend. They will not compromise the quality of the products. They will not use raw materials that are not part of the human food chain. It has been Dr. First's #1 commitment when he put together the scientific advisory board. And we're going to talk a little bit about the history of our grain, and that's how Neolife started, right back in 1958. When you look at this picture, You can see that, they used to grind the wheat and make the flour and make the bread, and the grains were whole and the nutrients were there, but our grains are not the same. They're milled, they're processed. And this is where Don was talking about the grains and from Tran, which is the solution to that whole grain gap. And this grain product called Tran, it contains the grain oils, the good fats from the grain, and it was proven to help with cellular energy and efficiency. And this is the first product that I started taking 35 years ago that just made a huge difference in how I felt, my energy, hormonal balance. And it contains less gluten than a bowl of gluten-free cereal. So people that have sensitivities to grain and wheat, this is such an amazing product to fill that gap. And why does it matter? Cellular nutrition, because all your cells work the same. Good nutrition begins at the cellular level. Nutrients get in and waste gets out. So when you look at the cell on the left, cells are having a hard time getting those nutrients in. When you add these oils, these lipids to your diet, all of a sudden the cell membrane becomes soft and permeable. Nutrients are getting in and waste is getting out. And that's why people start to feel better. And what a difference. And so again, this has been around, like as John was saying, since 1958. And what's really interesting is the formula has not changed in 66 years. Okay, guys, it's still working, it's still performing, and it makes a difference. I mean, you look at the chronic disease that's going on all over the world. I mean, it's higher than ever before. Heart disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, chronic respiratory diseases. It is becoming an epidemic. So many people are struggling, and the chronic disease is the leading causes of death and disability in the United States and Canada are these diseases. Okay, and they are all preventable through dietary changes. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that. So really it's the time is to end the trend of chronic disease. And that's why we're on a mission. And many of us that have been with Neolife, whether we're a year in or 5 years in, or like me, 35 years in, we're sharing this information with people because we want them to understand that you can make a difference and impact people's lives. And the good news is the solution is clear. You got to make changes in your diet. You got to look at your weight. You got to get active, right? Physical activity, a diet that's rich in whole food nutrients, not these processed packaged foods and bad fats. You need good fats. So this is what we need to do if we want to extend the quality of life. And it does sound easy, but when you look at the amount of food we need to eat, some people do a really good job and achieve some of these goals. But your average person, it's a challenge. I talk to so many people, to eat 5 to 7 grains or 5 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, 3 servings of fatty fish in a week. It's hard. Or even, when you look at even what somebody eats in a day, right? 13 servings of fruits and vegetables in a day, it's hard to do. So reality check is most people don't even come close to the recommended daily of food consumed in a day, let alone a week. So when you're looking at fruits and vegetables, we're failing to get the minimum, just the minimum. And it's a challenge. And omega-3 fatty acids, still failing to get the minimums. We're just not getting enough of those good quality fats. And omega-3 deficiency is the 6th biggest killer of Americans. And that was a Harvard Public Library of Science Medicine journal. So it's a challenge. And 70% of new mothers fail to meet omega-3 sufficiency guidelines. And that's so important for pregnancy. And we're going to have Rachel share later. I mean, she's pregnant and taking salmon oil. It plays such a big role with a healthy baby, and also leaving enough good fat for mom and her brain so she doesn't get postpartum depression, right? So this is such a challenge. And so the problem is obvious. I mean, when you look at, the too much of the bad stuff and not enough of the good stuff, right? So even if you make some small changes to your habits, what an impact and what a difference you'll make in your body. And so filling the gap, right? So Neolife has some solutions to fill the gap. And John Miller talked about the grain oils, and I, mentioned Tran. We have also, other products in there that we're going to be talking about. And our scientific advisory board, as you know, John Miller is head of our scientific advisory board now, and Dr. First was the founding member. And And he's world renowned. And we were so grateful and so blessed to have had him on our team. And when you look at the rich heritage, right, since 1958, this is one of the biggest Neolife differences. We've been around for so long, and this is what Tran looked like back in 1958, right? 66 years old. And look at the Neolife office. And do you know we're the first company to have a protein drink on the market? Yeah, Neolife is one of the firsts, which is kind of cool. So Tran is definitely the solution to the grain gap. Okay, get those oils back into your diet again. Carotenoids, which is the other little capsule that's in that pack, are the phytonutrients from the colorful fruits and vegetables that help with your immune system. They protect your heart, defends your cells. And, one of these capsules in every box is like consuming 80 pounds of raw fruits and vegetables in that 1 month. That's a lot of fruits and vegetables. Clinically proven to boost your immune system 37% in just 20 days. Pretty awesome. Our fish oil, omega-3, has all 8 omega-3, and it plays such a big role with heart health, brain function, flexible joints, healthy eyes, fetal eye and brain development, but screened for over 200 possible contaminants with an allowance of 0. So 0 mercury, 0 lead, 0 toxins. I remember when Dr. Arthur First was alive, and I would pick his brain, and I'd ask him, I said, what happens when, you get the spinach and the tomatoes and the carrots and all the raw materials, what happens if the nutrients aren't there? He goes, the whole batch is turned away. He said it's happened with spinach, where they would get these batches of spinach from the farm, and there's a stamp of approval from the farm. But then when these ingredients come, or the raw materials come to the Neolife facility, they retest. And there was many times, he said, where they actually turned the batch away because there wasn't enough vitamin C or whatever nutrients they were looking for. It did not meet our standards, which is really, really powerful. So even our fish, 0 toxins. Fish oil was also clinically proven to be bioavailable. A lot of fish oils, they just don't get to where they need to get to, and also clinically proven to reduce inflammation 68% in just 8 weeks. And that's why people get amazing results when they take our omega-3. So it helps with cells, and also it has a multivitamin mineral supplement. So we like to call this like a Cadillac a multi, because it's not just a multivitamin. You're getting all these key nutrients plus a multivitamin in that amazing power pack of 12 pounds of whole grains, 80 pounds of fruits and vegetables, and 10 servings of fatty fish in every single box, which is pretty awesome. And then when you add amazing protein, clinically proven again for weight loss, body fat, body size, cardioprotective, lowers the body mass index. And so it's part of what we call a breakfast solution, or our Shape Up pack, which is our weight loss solution. So, we've got these 2 systems here where you can do 1 protein shake a day with the vitamin pack called Pro Vitality. Or if you're looking at, our full weight loss system, then we've got a Shape Up pack where you're doing 2 protein shakes a day with the Vitality pack. So this is just like your core nutrition, just a great place to start. Now, Miller talked about the ingredient control. And this is one of the biggest Neolife differences, literally from the farm to the table. Okay. Product you can trust, because everything that goes into every Neolife product must meet our stringent quality requirements. Every supplier, every ingredient, qualified and requalified. Remember when I said Dr. First, they would turn a batch away? They, again, do not take the word of the supplier. They retest, which is pretty important. The best farm fields, carefully selected farm fields, produce the highest quality ingredients and superior nutrient content, a non-GMO. Stringent quality standards. Crops are continually analyzed for nutrient content and quality. This is something that they stand beside. The purest extractions and concentrates, state-of-the-art processing technologies and equipment guarantee the purest extractions and concentrates. I remember talking to John Miller many years ago when they were looking at technology is always changing, right, guys? I mean, look at our cell phones, look at our computers, right? Things are always getting better, always getting faster. And I remember John Miller saying that, Dr. First was looking at this new system where, right now, or they had this system where it could detect a pesticides and your food in like 3 seconds. I'm just going to give you an example. Whereas there was this new technology that can detect it in less than a second. So when they were looking at this new technology, literally Jerry Brassfield basically said to the scientific team, whatever you need to improve the technology, you just go ahead and get it. And that's what's really nice to work with a company that is debt free, right? They have the funds to do what they need to do to keep up with the standards of testing. This is so important, guys, because a lot of companies out there are not in that financial position to have this kind of equipment to do the testing to guarantee the purity and the potency of their products. So we're very proud of this. And so there's also what they call a re-verification and confirmation. So sometimes this can be frustrating for us Neolifers, because sometimes when we sell out a product and we're waiting for a shipment to come in from California to our Canadian warehouse, sometimes the products are quarantined and we can't get them and they're back ordered and we're waiting and waiting. Well, they literally, when they do the re-verification of purity and potency, all the ingredients are then quarantined until the lab tests confirm their purity and potency. So I think they take one batch from every lot number back for retesting. And they literally quarantine the product until they're able to release it when they get the results back. And that's pretty important. The manufacturing process, again, state-of-the-art equipment for maximum efficiency and consistency. So there's no, like even the carotenoids, the standards, every capsule has the exact same nutrient content. They do not vary. Okay, so that's why when some of these universities were doing studies on the immune system, they couldn't use food because every piece of food had different nutrient contents. They weren't a constant, they weren't the same consistency. And that's why when they used carotenoid complex, they were able to do human trial studies because every single carotenoid product was exactly the same. So they can do live studies on humans to see how this product or how these nutrients from food can affect the immune system, which is pretty incredible. Quality control, again, leading edge testing and certification on finished products, ongoing inspections to assure safety, quality, and efficacy. Additional samples are collected and retained for tracking. So they keep samples from every batch and they store them, I think, for years to see. I remember John Miller saying sometimes they would extract and they would leave them in different areas where they have products sitting there, and they would go back 20 years later just to see the nutrient loss in the products. And anyways, he's got some pretty cool stories. So when you're at Summit, for those of you guys that are going to meet our scientific advisory board, these are the kinds of questions you can ask John, because he'll have fun with you and share, just some of the things that they've experienced when they go back to test some of these raw materials. From the source to your table. And they have tracking batch coding system where they can track right back to the original seed stock, when that seed was planted, when the carrot was grown, when the nutrients were extracted and put into that bottle, guys, right back to the original seed stock, which is pretty incredible. So I'm going to have now our dear friend Rachel, who has joined our team recently, who, when we introduced Neolife to her last year, basically flat out said no. And Rachel, we're blessed to have you on our team, because I know you've researched and now you truly understand the Neolife difference. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nada. And yeah, I think it was a couple years ago that we first met, and yeah, I'm kicking myself now for not looking into the company more at that time and waiting so long. Because I thought I was using good quality supplements with myself, my family, and recommending good products to my clients. And I never really saw the results that I was hoping for. I was always just searching for the next best thing and not getting the results that I really thought I should be. So when I found Neolife, the first time it was kind of the same thing where it's like, well, it's got to be too good to be true. But I am really glad that I ran into Nada again, and that I was able to get connected with the Neolife family, because I've experienced some amazing things with my own health since then, and as well as my family. So just, I guess, a couple of examples. For myself, I struggle with balancing my thyroid properly, and it's something that I am constantly working through with food and lifestyle and everything. But since starting the Neolife supplements in the fall, this is the first winter that I've experienced my energy actually remain stable throughout. Usually I get a really big dip in January and February, just with the change in weather and everything else that's going on. And this year I didn't experience that, so that was a really, really pleasant surprise. And then another thing that's happened is I was starting to get some joint pain in my feet. And it was kind of scary, but it wasn't to the point where I needed painkillers or anything for it, but it was definitely bothersome. And I noticed back in January that that they hadn't been bothering me, and it had probably been a month or two, and I just it just dawned on me that it wasn't happening anymore. So yeah, those are two really unexpected changes that I've noticed since using the products. And the last one I'll just mention is my little guy there. So 2 falls ago, the his immune health was just a mess, and we struggled from like August to December with just ongoing sicknesses. And this year he started kindergarten, and I was really nervous about that. But we've kind of sailed through. I mean, he's still had some colds and flus, but he's recovered really quickly, and it hasn't really bothered him or us too much. So yeah, there's more, but I'll leave it at that for tonight.
And also, you're carrying another little one. You
Oh
forgot
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah.
Important.
Pardon?
You're pregnant.
Yeah, I am pregnant and expecting at the end of May. So yeah, definitely having high quality supplements has been really important. And as Nada had said earlier, the salmon oil in particular is really important for the growing baby, and for a mom's brain as well. So I'm so glad that I found this product. So just to give you a little bit more background about it. So when we look at the salmon population, that indigenous Atlantic salmon that we hear so much about has actually been under a lot of stress for the last 20 years or so. And one of the biggest reasons for this is that human consumption has put a lot of pressure on this. So as our population continues to grow, the pressure on that species is just going to increase. So and we see that the spread of the agriculture and industrial technology has made it more and more difficult to really find pristine waters where these fish are living healthy lives. And we see with the continental runoff, literally what's washed off of our continental land is going into the sea. So it's becoming harder and harder to avoid. And it's believed that for the last several years that it's really only a matter of time before genetically modified salmon escape into the wild environment. And this is only if it could have already happened. And typically this farm salmon, including both non-GMO and GMO versions, are grown in these small tanks. And these small tanks can be small as like 70,000 gallons. So that's about the size of 2 to 3 family swimming pools. However, when we look at how Neolife gets their salmon oil, they only accept non-GMO salmon to get that salmon oil. They don't allow any of the pond-grown salmon, whether it's GMO or otherwise. And all of the salmon comes from pristine deep water fjords in northern Norway. And the fjords are enclosed, so it is open water, but it is protected. So it's done so that none of those non-natural or non-specific species infiltrate the natural salmon population in that area. So it really ensures that the quality and the clarity of the waters where the fish live are allowed to have that natural tidal inflow, but nothing that they don't want to get in gets in. And as Nada had mentioned with the plant materials, so even with all of that safeguarding, the suppliers do check to confirm the genetic identity of the fish using a gene sequencing protocol. They check the purity of the oil. They make sure there's no pesticides, antibiotics, or industrial technology chemicals or heavy metals. So once those fish are harvested, they go into this tightly controlled oil extraction process. So the extracted oil is immediately blanketed with nitrogen to prevent oxidation, because that oxidation can happen quite rapidly. So protecting that oil from exposure to oxygen persists at every step of the harvest, all the way until encapsulation. So once extracted, the oil's fatty acid profile is then tested to confirm that all omega-3 fatty acids are present. And at every step in the manufacturing process, we check and then double check and triple check with a very tightly controlled system of quarantine and release or reject protocols. And so we really do have world-class quality. So Neolife products meet or exceed the quality standards for purity, potency, and consistency of every major regulatory authority in the world.
Way to go, Rachel. You were awesome. Now it's interesting because, you know, when I first heard this story from John Miller, that's, you know, he explained how the fish oil was extracted and how was that ever a concern for you, Rachel? Like when you were looking at fish and consuming fish, like did you know that that this might be a concern until you heard of Neolife, or was it something that you were aware of with your background?
It was something that I was concerned about, but I didn't realize how many companies really are not truthful in what's going into their products, or just aren't meeting these quality standards.
You got it. And that's how, you know, and it's funny because when I first looked at this, even like 35 years ago, I was really in awe. And I know, you know, that's probably how you're feeling now, but I'm just so grateful. And we are so happy to be part such an amazing company. So I feel it's hard not to tell people, right? People need to know who we are and why we do what we do. And there is a huge difference in purity and quality. And, you know, many of our customers, they're so grateful that they can join Neolife as a customer for free. As soon as they become a club member, they get a 10% discount. They can even qualify for 20% off retail by going on what we call NeoSips, a monthly order, especially because the Pro Vitality or that breakfast solution is a month supply. And then we have a referral program where they can get their products for free. We have fitness challenges and weight loss challenges, which can really help to support, you know, your health journey. But here are the different health packs. So we have a vitality pack, a breakfast solution, and our weight loss solution. And these are one of the best places to start. And a lot of people now are adding our amazing new energy drinks. So if you're curious about that, just reach out to us. We also have a vegan option. For those of you that are sensitive to different ingredients, and our vegan is vanilla, and it tastes really good compared to some of the vegan products that are out there. We also have a Facebook group where we have over 11,000 people in this group where they share their stories and testimonials. If you're curious about how these products have impacted people's lives for many, many years, we can invite you to this group and you can really read some pretty life-changing, awesome life-changing stories. And, there is another option. If you or someone you know really enjoys helping others. So, for example, myself, when I was on the police force, I thought I liked my job. But as time went on, I realized it wasn't something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And as I was using the Neolife products and sharing it with my family and friends, I realized I wanted more. And as I was impacting people's lives, I just loved sharing Neolife with others. And so if you're in that category where you just really enjoy helping others, there's an amazing income opportunity that comes alongside. And so I would say, at least try the products, feel the Neolife difference. You will definitely see the Neolife difference. And if you're curious about a part-time income or possibly leading to a full-time income like myself, just reach out to us and we can guide you in that direction. And if you just want to learn more, that's okay too. We do different sessions every week. We educate, we help people understand how good nutrition can really, truly impact your life. So I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. I want to thank you, Rachel, for your amazing expertise in your presentation. And thank you all for joining us. I'll stop the recording and open up to any questions that you may have. So thank you all for joining us tonight.